What is happening, everybody? Happy New Year. It's 2025. It's a little late, but it's the first time we're on the show for this year all together. So welcome. And Kat, Brant, happy New Year to you. How you guys
Thank
doing? This is
you.
the first time that we've talked live, at least,
Yeah, no, I'm excited to talk about news that are bigger news pieces that came out a few weeks ago. It's interesting because last week was a bigger week, but we couldn't go on. We wanted everyone to be on, so we ended up just saying, "Hey, let's do it when everyone's could." But this
I
week
was
was
pretty sick.
small.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
pretty
you
sick last week. Yeah.
yeah, when you had the voice message to us, I was like, yeah, I don't think that would be a good sounding show if you're like that for 2 hours.
And I was like coughing the whole time. Like it's just rough. I was making videos last week and like it was so hard to do where I had to like constantly edit and stop and redo. And oh my God, that was a nightmare doing all that. But yeah, we're on this week, guys, and it's happy that you're catching this week's show. We definitely have some big news that obviously is focused around Diamond. We're going to talk a few of the other news pieces first, let the audience build a little bit, and then we'll get into the Diamond stuff. There's not too much other news, so it shouldn't take that long. And then once we get through that, we'll talk about this week's comic books, our top 5 comic books, and yeah, it'll be a first good show of the year. So let's take it away,
And
Kat. Start off the news.
yeah,
Go ahead, bro.
I was just gonna say, and I fixed the thumbnail so it actually reads
Oh,
correctly.
you already fixed it?
Yeah, I already
Yeah,
There you
fixed
go.
it.
you
Even
guys
before the
pointed
show
it
is
out. You
over.
guys pointed out that the thumbnail was spelled incorrectly, bankruptcy, and it's a very easy mistake. Like just remember on that keyboard, the L is right next to the K, so you can definitely understand why there's a mistake there. So
Yeah. Fortunately, I still had the layered PSD file open on my computer, so I was like, okay, I'll just
oh,
fix
you
the
got
thumbnail real
lucky,
quick.
yeah.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Easy fix.
That was a
Yep.
quick one for sure. But yeah, we're gonna start with some news. So we're gonna go into it, and we'll start with some media news. First up, Jason Momoa is gonna play Lobo. I mean, that's a fun casting, but it's also interesting to see that someone who could be, Aquaman in the previous DC universe is gonna play another character when there was the whole Wonder Woman and Henry Cavill thing where they couldn't play their characters anymore. And they were like, wait, no, he's going to play this. And then he did it. So that's interesting. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a good casting though, all things aside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
it's go
go
ahead.
ahead, Brent. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as far as just like thinking about Lobo and thinking about stature and appearance and stuff at the very least, definitely fits the part, right? And depending on if they're going like the goofy version, we've seen different versions of Lobo, or like, if they go like comical version, he's like perfect for that as well. So, but we've seen Chris Evans as Captain America and the Human Torch, so it's no big deal as far as that goes. But as far as the other actors not getting to do something, that kind of sucks. But is what it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like he's been rumored to play Lobo for like the longest time. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, and he definitely has the look for it. So it's going to be really easy for him to pull off the look, and he definitely has that that loud personality. So I think he'll definitely play the part very well.
I do want to mention Charlie Stickney is in the comments, our friend who writes White Ash. So that was cool to see his name. And also a lot of cool different names I usually don't see. Action Nerd Network, Thiago, I haven't seen before. So thanks for joining us and joining the conversation. Comic Hound asks if you're late. Nope, we just started. So you are good. But let's get into some more media news here. So the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man trailer came out, which is interesting because that prequel book came out a couple of weeks ago. I believe that next issue comes out tomorrow. So we're finally also getting the show. And the animation is a little weird. I'll say that. Like, it wasn't exactly what I expected, but I'm also excited to just watch a Spider-Man show and see what it's all about. So Nico was interesting too. It's so hard to separate the comic we just read and the show and those expectations, but I'm again excited to get Spider-Man on a weekly basis, but I don't really know what to expect from this one. I don't know if I was wowed by the trailer.
Yeah, it was definitely different though, different than anything we've seen before. Like the art, the animation style was different, the tone was different. I mean, it still felt Spider-Man like, but yeah, I don't know like what audience this is for yet until I watch like a full episode. I like the comic. I like Nico, like you said, and all that stuff. So if it feels like the comic did when I read that, then I think I'll enjoy it. But I don't know. I need to see more before I
Mhm.
opinion.
Yeah, it was definitely like a little, I don't know, a little off for me.
Mm,
Uh like you said with the animation, and I felt like they were trying to go with Miles Morales, like
mm,
Spider-Verse animation, but in like their own way. That's how I felt about it. It will definitely be interesting to see, where it goes after the first couple episodes, because it is like that early years of Spider-Man and whatnot. So, I'm on board. I'm definitely gonna watch it.
yeah,
I don't know, maybe I was expecting something a little bit different, and I'm like, it seems different, but I don't know if that's
yeah,
in a good way or a bad way yet, right?
I was
right.
expecting more like X-Men, the X-Men cartoon, not obviously the nostalgia, but maybe like the production level. So I was a little
Maybe something a little
surprised.
bit more, I don't know, maybe something a little bit more serious.
Yeah, not as all
Yeah,
because again, we've seen this before for a Spider-Man cartoon many times.
yeah,
What are you gonna say,
and like
Brent?
I said, I was just gonna say like that leads me to that comment about the audience. I don't know what if this is like for a younger audience, if this is for a general audience. I couldn't tell
On
from
Disney
the
Plus
trailer.
too? Question mark. Like
Right.
are younger kids
Yeah.
like I want to watch Spider-Man on Disney Plus, but I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe that's how they watch their shows. But
But
I'm guessing they're
but they
not.
yeah, I mean they have what is it? Spider-Man is Amazing Friends, which
Sure.
is more geared towards kids. So that leads me to believe this is for older, at least older kids at the very least. So I don't
Maybe like
know.
10
It
or
just
11.
yeah, maybe so. It was just a weird vibe to it, but we'll see.
All right. We are now moving on to the Superman trailer. Believe it or not, we have not talked about it on this show yet. And yeah, I think it's everything I wanted from a Superman trailer. It teased things without revealing everything. It felt very classic Superman. It was bright. You have all your main players, the Lois Lanes, Lex Luthor, Superman, Crypto. I thought it was a very solid teaser. I liked it.
I agree. I mean, I remember when I first watched it, and just being that I'm such a big animal person, dog person, and seeing that crypto scene for the very first time, and he's dragging them, and it's just like, oh man, that's it had full of emotion to it, just everywhere from that to the kids chanting Superman to the scenes with Lois, just the evil expression on Lex Luthor's face. Like, it felt like already just from the trailer, the movie had a lot of heart. And that's what you want from a Superman movie, right? And I watched it quite a few times. And then I saw Sonic this past weekend, this Sunday, and they showed the trailer on that. And seeing it on the big screen was really good, because you could catch those details where most of the stuff I watch is on my phone. So seeing it on the big movie screen was really a treat.
And ironically, somehow all three of us saw Sonic this weekend. I don't know how that happened, but we did. And it was fun.
It's a
It
good
It
was
was
movie,
what it
yeah.
fun.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like if you like Sonic, you're gonna love it. And I feel like if you have kids, you'll like it a lot. I feel like it's a good like family movie. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, let's Brant, did you have anything else about the Superman trailer?
Yeah. I mean, just to echo both what both of you said, I thought it was really good so far. We like you said, we got enough of a tease without giving too much of the details away. To your point, Mike, I really liked that the crypto scene. And I saw like a lot of comments about people hating the dog and stuff like that, and I
What?
It's
just don't
crazy.
understand
Really?
that. Yeah, but for me, it's like they didn't shy away from like the seriousness, the violence. Got the crap beat out of him. He's bleeding, and he's Superman. and then you throw in just a little lightheartedness with the dog, but it's still emotional and heart-wrenching in that moment too, and it's just like you could feel a bunch of different emotions throughout that trailer, and it gives me
Yeah.
a lot of hope for the movie.
It's
So
like
I'm looking forward to it.
like man's best friend right there, and he's saving him. And I just, even Superman needs help every once in a while, and it happened to be from Crypto, and I thought that's just something different that we've never seen in a Superman movie, and my hat's off for him going there with that,
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right, let's move on to. I was also seeing another article about diamond stuff. They had like Lunar and Public Random House say stuff too, so I'll be interested to talk about when we get there. But let's talk about Ultimate Guardians of the Galaxy is happening. So they're just doing the ultimate versions of everybody now. Brian, you
Well, I
wanted
mean,
to talk
that
about
comic already came out.
Yeah,
it was a part of the Ultimates, because I dropped that one.
It just came out. So they had a whole story with them. They introduced them. Who is it? Carol Danvers. Was it Carol in this universe? Captain Marvel.
I don't know. It was definitely Captain Marvel. Whether
Captain
it was Carol
Marvel
or
in
not, I'm
this
not
universe
sure.
has had a relationship with
America.
Chavez. And so like they were looking for her, and there was, giving them the kind of like of what's going to happen in the world and in the future and things like that. It was definitely kind of a difficult issue to follow. There was a lot of different moving pieces going on in that book.
Yeah, they kind of like took over the book for the issue. It was weird. Like America was lost in time, right? So they were searching for her, but she doesn't have any memories of her time with the Guardians at all. So she had this whole relationship with Captain Marvel that she doesn't remember, and so there was like that tension there because they wanted to bring her back with them, and she was like, "I've got my purpose here," that kind of thing. And then they're outside of time of what the maker did, so they didn't get erased when he erased everything, so they're trying to fix it and bring the world back. And so it's like this multiversal kind of, it was very confusing at points, but I liked what they were going for, and I liked that we got an explanation of where America came from, because we weren't sure up till that point, because she just kind of appeared out of nowhere. So.
Right. And she comes from them, basically. She's like a guardian, but she doesn't know it.
All right. Well, let's move on to some more Ultimate talk, which is that Gambit and Kitty are going to be an Ultimate Wolverine. So if I don't like Ultimate Wolverine this week, like if I hate it, I gotta wait until issue 3 to wait for Kitty Pryde. Also, I hope I do like it, but just saying, like, no matter what, I'm not dropping this book until at least issue 3.
Gotta have that Kitty fix.
Gotta have Kitty in all the universes.
I mean, it makes sense that she's in there. I think that's kind of cool. And then like having Gambit in there. So it's cool that now that we're starting to get real X-Men in these Ultimate books, because people read the Ultimate X-Men comic and it's not the same, and people been, ragging on it because it's like, oh, this is not X-Men. It shouldn't be called X-Men. Fine. That's fine. If you don't like it, that's great. I read quite a bit of it, and then it just got to the point for me where I didn't enjoy it anymore because there's like too many characters. But now that you've been waiting for regular X-Men, we're finally getting it. So
just in a Wolverine book instead of the X-Men.
But it's in Wolverine. So you can get Wolverine, you'll get Gambit, and you'll get Rogue. So that's fine. I don't have a problem. Not Rogue. Gambit and Kitty Pryde. Yeah. So I don't have a problem with that at all.
One of the comments on my Friday First video was about Ultimate X-Men and how I can't remember his actual name, but Daken, his real name, he actually showed up in Ultimate X-Men, and he's like the first mutant that they've actually added to the cast. So I think there is a shift kind of going towards that direction now. I'm still not reading it, but that was interesting.
13 Ultimate X-Men, you get mutants.
Yeah, exactly. But going back to Ultimate Wolverine, I like Gambit and Kitty, so I'm excited to see both of them. Want to see what kind of version we get in the Ultimate Universe of all three of those characters, actually. So, yeah. Fun stuff.
All right. Let's move on to one of the bigger topics that came out earlier this month, and that was Amazing Spider-Man relaunch. And the big news being that there is no big news because it's the same creative team. You have John Romita Jr. back. You got Joe Kelly, who's just officially announced now. And I'm just like, you gotta shake it up, guys. And that's what was my disappointment with Joe Kelly originally, was that I was like, oh, we've done this before. We've seen so many stories of his, and Dan Slott ended up taking the lead anyways. So I just, I'm not feeling it.
I made a video on this, and I was just like, when it comes down to it, I think they were like, hey, do you want to do Spider-Man? Do you want to do Spider-Man? And they're like, no. Do you want to do Spider-Man? No. Do you want to do Spider-Man? No.
It's
Joe
hard.
Kelly,
It's a hard book.
You want to do Spider-Man? He's like, I guess so. Just pay me a decent amount of money. Okay, I guess. And do you mind if we bring back John Romita Jr.? I guess so. I mean, seriously, like, I think Pepe Larraz is going to be the lead artist, and I think John Romita Jr. will do a few issues here and there, or he'll do covers or something like that. So it's so frustrating. Hopefully Joe Kelly can tell a decent story, and we'll get as least John Romita Jr. as possible on that run.
Well, and obviously we'll talk about the Amazing Spider-Man this issue later on, but yeah, I'm just gonna read Ultimate Spider-Man and be like, this is what I enjoy. And the best way to describe it is, if you want really good story, read Ultimate Spider-Man. If you like popcorn flick, if you like just balls to the wall action, read Amazing Spider-Man. But I think a lot of people are older. A lot of people who read Spider-Man in particular have been fans of him for a long time. And Spider-Man is known for drama. Like, he is a soap opera character. So I think that's what's weird about that book, is that it's such an action heavy series. It's not as much Spider-Man. I think he always balanced his action with drama.
They released some of the variant covers for Amazing Spider-Man issue 1. I think the news was released today. So
yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, Lee Bermejo does one of the covers, which is kind of cool because he's always done a bunch of Batman covers, and so this one is kind of cool to see him do a Spider-Man cover. So it's pretty neat. That was the only one that really stood out for me. There's a John Romita one, which it's so basic, it's not even funny.
Yeah, it's interesting that's the most exciting part, is like, what cover at least will I get?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How about you, Brant? What are your thoughts on Spider-Man here?
I mean, you know, I feel the same way as both of you. I want to get back to the core of Spider-Man. We get that in Ultimate Spider-Man. We get that nice balance. We get a lot of the supporting cast and stuff like that, and that's what Amazing is missing by and large. And action is great, but it does, like you said, Kat, it needs to be balanced, and we don't get that. So I'm a little disappointed in this, but I'm still going to read it because it's Spider-Man. So
always do.
Should Marvel cancel Amazing Spider-Man? I don't think that'll ever happen. I think the closest we ever got was Superior Spider-Man. They just replaced it with something else. Because technically Amazing Spider-Man 1 was canceled for like a year. And then, I mean, even I'm trying to remember the X-Men days. I think that was also, there was a time when X-Men didn't have a book, right? I don't remember though. I think that was also, because before Fox, I want to say there was a time the X-Men did not have a book. I know the Fantastic Four didn't.
Didn't have a book. Yeah.
Right.
You guys are going to have to tell us in the comments, because I feel like there was a short period of time where the X-Men didn't, like between Red and Blue and Brian Michael Bendis. I want to say there was a gap between that, but maybe I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong on that, but
if you're right, it was a very short time.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. Fantastic Four, on the other hand, that was very long. That was a very long gap. But yeah, Amazing Spider-Man, that's not going to happen. It's just there. It's like what we all say, and everyone in the comments, like, no matter what, I'm going to get Spider-Man. Like, it could be blank pages, and they're going to sell Spider-Man. Just people collect it. So
yeah, I got this comment here. It said, Remuda Jr. style was much better in the early 80s, which I agree. he really changed his style to that weird blocky stuff Slayer. You know what I mean? When Remuda drew Iron Man. And I completely know what he's talking about. Like when Armor Wars was out and stuff like that, and he was doing that series. I remember reading it, and I'm just like, why is Iron Man's legs like a flipping rectangle with a line between them? You know, I was just like, why does it look like that? And it's just weird. I don't know. It's just whatever. It is what it is, and we'll just have to deal with it and see that maybe Joe Kelly has a really good story to tell. We'll see. So,
and again, we'll talk about that issue that came out this week later on. But the last news piece is the big one. Diamond is going bankrupt. It's funny because I'm sure we're going to talk about Aquaman. We're going to talk about Jeremy Adams later. But our original topic was going to be about Aquaman and Jeremy Adams. And then this came out. And we're like, well, we have to do a topic on Diamond. And it's a weird conversation because I don't know how much is really going to change. Diamond has really been out of the ballpark for a long time, and Lenny agrees. But it's just that they've been kind of shoved out since COVID. And the type of bankruptcy that's happening is them to redo a lot of their industry. And my guess is that they're going to get out of the direct market and focus more on that Kickstarter fulfillment stuff. I think that's probably what they're going to end up doing. But yeah, this is not huge news. Is it going to shake up the industry? I hope it's a wake-up call. I hope the direct market kind of learns that you can't just have one company working on everything. I think also maybe connection to creators could be very different. I think now with so many like ghost machines and just creators running their publishers, it would be cool to see comic book stores kind of connect in a more direct basis like you can on the internet or through crowdfunding. So I'd be curious to see what they're going to do with that. And then the big thing is, how are small publishers going to deal? Because obviously DC, Marvel, they have their Penguin Random House, they have their Lunars. It's going to be more of like the Scouts and, the Titans and stuff like that. Like, where are they going to go? I don't know if they're going to survive the direct market. I'm not really sure.
Where does Image ship through? Is it Diamond? Or do they
I think it's Lunar. Or maybe it's Penguin. Let me see.
I
thought they most recently switched also, but I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure they did. Lunar. They're Lunar.
They're Lunar. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, again, those indie books, the big Image boom, they're going to be fine. It really is those smaller publishers that I think are going to be more pushing towards crowdfunding or maybe direct to customers. E-commerce. Like a really great example is Lady Death. What they're doing now, they're not even doing Kickstarter anymore. They're going direct to consumer. They have a website and they even made a statement. They're like, comic fans that read our books like in the store, I think you might have a harder time now because everything that's going on with Diamond, but nothing really changes for us. We're just going to do direct to customer and do our online services. So I think those type of people are gonna have to figure out what they're gonna do.
There's a lot of shops though that still used Diamond because you don't know how many complaints just based off of my channel on people who actually said they didn't receive their books because of the one location that shut down, and everyone was in the dark. They were saying, well, why did this location shut down? And I haven't received my books in 2 weeks. And this is part of the reason because they were getting ready to file for bankruptcy, but they weren't really honest with that in the beginning. So now you're kind of finding out, hey, this is probably the true reason why that one warehouse shut down. But a lot of places did not get comics for 2-3+ weeks. And and they were delayed, And so these shops now have to figure out, okay, do I stick with Diamond during this bankruptcy phase or do I go elsewhere? And my thing is I have a feeling these shops can't take the risk on not getting their comics on time, and they're going to go to a different business. They're going to go to a Lunar. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's my personal opinion. I just feel like you said, the smaller publishers might struggle with this.
What I find interesting, because I'm reading over they, you know how they gave the FAQ for some of the
Mhm.
stuff in this release. So I'm reading over some of this, and I find it interesting that they've already have a letter of intent from another company to purchase the UK branch of their business, and they have offers from other companies to purchase the US version. So it's possible they're not even going to be in control of their business by the end of
Mhm.
all of this. So I
Yeah.
don't know how that's going to affect everything either, whether
Correct.
it's, you know, I don't know if they're going to completely pivot to other things like you said, Kat, or they're going to, focus more on the collectibles and that kind of thing. So I don't
Which is
know.
interesting because the other things they've announced too, like let's say the crowdfunding aspect where they announced like one of their biggest last pushes was they're going to fulfill campaigns. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a really interesting idea because people need it. But I mean, I do a lot with Kickstarter. I haven't heard one person who used Diamond for fulfillment. So I don't know how well that's going. This is an interesting question. So Andrew Law says, how do you trust paying a company that has filed for bankruptcy? I don't know the ins and outs of that, but I think that's why most companies that go for bankruptcy die. There's
Well, it's
some that
yeah.
Yeah.
do fine, but a lot of
It's a
times they
matter if
don't.
they can yeah, it's a matter if they can emerge. I mean, it's a little different. I mean, it's not like they're a restaurant business that have like multiple chains and they can close stores and pay back creditors and things like that. They have like a few warehouses full of merchandise and they close down. But it's just like, but how are you still going to make money? You lost your opportunity to make money. You were the only distributor, and because you kept fucking up, excuse the language, that's why Lunar exists. That's why Penguin Random House exists, because people got tired of comics coming in late, comics coming in damaged,
Destroyed.
not updating your systems, not working with the comic shops, and they did it to themselves, and they lost trust to those retailers. So how are people now going to trust them? How are they going to know that they're going to emerge from this? And like Brant said, if they get taken over, it could be a completely different company altogether.
And
I
I
really
think
don't see them emerging from this. I really
no,
don't.
I don't either. I mean,
Yeah.
again, you could play devil's advocate, but I also don't think it's gonna happen. I don't see it
Yeah.
happening. But also like that's like what's weird about comics in general too is that we are such a traditional medium where like we do it because that's what we've always done. Like I think FOC is a very interesting thing too. Like there's no other industry that really works like that. Where like you have to pre-order a comic and that determines how much we're gonna sell, even though you never read the comic and all that. I'm like, I think that's even like something that's like, I wish that could change better. Cause like when you go to your comic book store, you have to put something on your pull list. Like you have to be a dedicated person to put something on your pull list, say, I know what FOC is. I think it really deters new readers from getting at least indie comics. Cause obviously like comic stores are going to have the extra Aquaman or the extra Spider-Man. But like, if you want a snot girl, it makes it really difficult to get books like that. And I think it just, I don't know what the other system is because it's been in place for so long. But I think, and that was a big part of Diamond and Diamond having that aspect of the FOCs. And obviously everyone kind of keeping that because how do you not have that with comic book stores? But I do think that's a weird system that we have in comics.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, for sure. I
Um
don't know. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
no, I was going to say I agree with you like with the FOC because you're kind of just like you're kind of guessing, you're kind of just like, hey, I might like this comic book. And once I
Right.
put it on that FLC, you're like dedicated to buy it.
Sure.
And I get why shops do it because
Ever
they,
survive too.
yeah, they got to
Right.
survive. They don't want to
They got to
over
know what to
order
order.
on
Yeah.
product,
Yeah.
and then, I know I have a lot of, viewers of the channels, they always ask me, why didn't you get this independent book or why didn't you get that one? And part of it is my shop may only have like one or two copies, or they don't always get all the independent comics in because they wind up not selling and they eat them and they lose money that way, so it's challenging because my shop is, they have a lot of stuff, but they are a smaller shop, so, yeah. And so it's hard. And that's why don't believe that diamond won't be around, because shops don't have the margin of error to play around to be like, hey, I can afford to not get new comics in for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, So no, that's a good stat right there.
Yeah.
84% of the industry. It's just sad though. Like, if the smaller publishers been using Diamond, and now it's like, okay, what do those publishers do now? Now they have to scramble and try to figure out, okay, do we come up with a deal with Lunar? What do we do? So
Right.
Because Penguin Random House is just Marvel, right?
I believe.
I think they have maybe something else on Penguin.
I don't
Random
remember.
House, the Comic Distribution.
Who did Boom switch to?
I'm gonna tell you, hold on, let me see, because if it's not Penguin, then it has to be Lunar. They're doing a lot of manga, I'm seeing too. They have like manga here.
Yeah, they have Boom as well.
It looks like Dark Horse they have.
Okay, so they got Boom, Dark Horse, and Marvel at least. So
okay, so they got those.
I think they also have DC's graphic novels. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. It looks like.
So then the big thing is then Diamond is the one that, like you said, Kat, they have like the statues, the collectibles, all that stuff. That's
and
what
also
they have.
like again, and someone said the big three won't be affected, but publishers like Zenoscope, Boom won't be affected either. Keen Spot, those are going to be affected. Boom is it's interesting because I think maybe back in the day Boom was an indie, but I consider like Boom, Image, even Oni.
They're more mainstream.
What about Mad Cave? More mainstream.
But are they still?
I don't think so. I think they switched a while ago. Mad Cave, just Comic Distributor. I want to say it's Penguin. Let's see. They are Simon & Schuster.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, I think for the most part everyone has moved on.
I think everybody saw the sinking ship and started jumping off.
It's just a matter at this point, the comic shops trying to figure out what they're going to do.
That's the big person being affected here is the comic shops, that they were still using Diamond because they were used to Diamond.
I know that Acme in Central Florida here, then the big shop that's here in Longwood, they were still using Diamond for their main for Marvel comic books. So I'm sure that they'll probably wind up switching over there.
Somebody asked about Dynamite. Yeah, they are.
I just looked it up.
Yeah,
that sucks. Yeah. That's bad.
So, yeah, that's really unfortunate because
they have to be the only ones left.
Yeah, as far as like the larger ones or the more known ones. Yeah,
Valiant, which is now Alien Books. Let me see. Alien Books distribution is. Oh, they're Diamond too.
Okay.
I think. It looks like it. Yeah, so they'll have to find someone else too. Alien Books entered a distributed partnership with the independent company Fair Square. I didn't know that Fair Square actually owned Alien, so that was interesting. Or like had a partnership with Alien. Let's not forget Archie. Yeah, there's definitely those type of companies that will be affected. Archie's an interesting one because I feel like Archie hasn't released anything in such a long time. Like they do their onesie twosies, but they're not releasing as much as they used to.
Yeah.
No. I think they'll be fine though. I think they'll figure it out. They've been around too long not to.
I think all these companies, if obviously they want to hang around, they'll definitely figure it out. I mean, definitely Dynamite will too. They'll have to make they produce way too many comics, and there's a lot of good comics that they have that they want to get in their hands. Nick Barucci there, he's kind of on top of things, so I think he probably was loyal to Diamond, but I think just eventually after this you're just going to have to jump ship. It's an unfortunate situation, but like I said, I think Diamond just dug their own grave, just not taking care of their people, and that's what it comes down to. That's why this whole situation happened to begin with. They thought they were all going to be the only fish in the pond, and you saw what happened.
I mean, for a long time they were. Even when
Yeah.
even when other companies tried to rival, nobody could match them until the pandemic. So
Right, exactly. Someone
COVID
got it
changed a
right.
lot.
Yeah. So that's cool stuff.
I think that's it for Diamond. Is there any other questions from you guys? Is there any, I think we covered a lot of it. I think it's more, let's wait and see. And when it comes to the bigger comic industry, again, I kind of was alluding to it earlier. Everything's changed since COVID, and the way people read comics have changed. I always state this, like, there's other places to read comics, and I'm a Wednesday warrior. I love reading my Wednesday warrior comics. I enjoy my Marvel and DCs, my images. But there's other places to read comics. Even like some of your favorites. Like there's some great, like if you read Vault, let's say, you could support them on, Kickstarter or their direct to consumer market. Lady Death is another great example. Like Lady Death is doing, again, like I was explaining before, they're doing a whole buy from their website crowdfunding thing on their own. So branch out, get some Kickstarter books, read Webtoon, but also like read your Wednesday Warrior comics. But there's awesome comics everywhere is the point of that. And I think that's what COVID taught us, is that you can read comics everywhere.
Yeah. And then if your shop knows that Diamond is their distributor, and they're being affected, just try to find out some information and see what your shop is going to do. They might be able to kind of give you an insight of, what's happening. And, if they have a plan of attack, which, if they want to survive, they're going to have to switch over for sure.
The name changes to shipping to Canada is insane. I'm guessing from the Kickstarter's point of view. My best recommendation is digital books. Most of those Kickstarters do digital books. I bought it IGG, and it was over Indiegogo, and it was over $100 for 3 books. Yeah, that's going to be the sad part. I think you also have to find the type of creators you want to support as well. There's some newer creators don't know as much about the shipping aspect, but they tend to learn more as they go along. But then again, digital books are great for that as well. I saw another question. Could this not create opportunity for more local regional distributors? I don't think so. Like we were saying earlier, like a lot of people try doing that. But the only reason why like Lunar and Penguin Random House worked is because they have bigger names behind those. Lunar, I want to say, is the ones that you used to buy from, Brant.
Yeah, DCBS. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Penguin Random House is obviously Penguin Random House. So I think that's why those work. But the locals, I don't see that happening anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's crazy stuff, man. Let me tell you, Diamond's been around forever, and for it to file bankruptcy, when I saw it, I was kind of like shocked, but wasn't. I was like, it's like it was a long time coming. It was like a matter of time almost, And it is sad though, because anything that affects the comic book world, it is sad. You don't want to see anything fail, and it hurts our hobby just that a little bit more. And hopefully the other distributors now that are kind of rising to the top sit there and see this and go, okay, we're not going to be a Diamond. We're going to make sure that we ship on time. We're going to take care of our products. We're going to take care of our local comic shops and thrive and succeed, so people can trust us. Hopefully that's what we're getting at here.
We did have another question. It's from Mutant Genius. What do you guys think will happen to Free Comic Book Day? I don't know if much will. Again, maybe some of the smaller ones, and I don't know the exact way the Free Comic Book Day program works in that regard, but Marvel and DC had theirs released, and they didn't work with Diamond. So unless they only worked with Diamond through that project, I don't know how that worked, but I'm guessing just the other ones will take it over.
Yeah, I don't know, and it's going to be kind of a wait and see on all these kind of things. And in the FAQ again, they addressed that too, and they were like, right as of right now, we're still planning on participating in this and so forth. And But you don't know how it's all going to shake out once the proceedings are done, and all the finances are accounted for and where things lay. But
Definitely by May
yeah,
too. That's a while from
right,
now.
yeah. But yeah, hopefully if Diamond's not involved with that, we can figure out a different way to do that. Again,
Yeah.
I'm like you, Kat. I don't understand exactly how it works with the shops and everything, but yeah, it's good for getting people in the shops and stuff like that. So
Absolutely. And we want to thank you guys for your support on this
Yeah.
this topic and this show, because I think for the
100
first time
viewers.
ever we broke over 100 live viewers. So that's
crazy.
that's awesome. I mean, I know other people do it all the time, but when you have a show that just talks about comics and a diamond distribution, to break over 100, I think that's pretty good, man. That's awesome stuff. It's good to start that off with the new year, right?
Yeah,
Oh, I
absolutely.
totally agree.
Now we'll probably see the show tank because we'll talk about comic books now. I know everyone
That's
wanted
okay,
to know
though.
about this, wanted to know
This
about
Diamond
the
stuff.
diamond, and
Yeah.
I loved hearing people's thoughts. One Dynamite said, "What city is Diamond based out of?"
I feel like it's New Jersey, but I don't know. I feel like I saw something
Don't
where it's like,
remember.
oh, it's by
I
me.
thought it was Indiana, but I could be wrong.
Oh, it's
Let me see if
Maryland.
I
It
can
looks
find
like.
it.
Okay.
Oh, is it
so
Maryland? Okay. We're
in
all
the
wrong.
East Coast.
Yeah.
Well,
East
at least
Coast for
from
sure.
Wikipedia.
From Hawaii,
Okay.
guys. Come on. You shouldn't.
Imagine a Hawaii
Yeah.
being a distributor. That would be maybe the worst business plan you can
Oh
do.
my God, right? I know. It's crazy.
I think DCBS is in Indiana. Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
okay.
Lunar. Yeah, Lunar is Indiana. So it's kind of still East Coast area. All right.
With them, real quick though, so with them being in bankruptcy now, are there going to be delays like going forward? Like
maybe again Dynamite or Archie, but I don't think anything else is really going to be affected.
But again, with the people that had the Marvel comics though, like the shops that did have Marvel, because they
had
still
Marvel through
closed that
Diamond
one
too?
warehouse.
I mean, see, that's what I'm confused about, because like if you
people like you had a choice, like shops had a choice still. You could still do Marvel and you can do Lunar. It depends what your shop still wanted to do.
There must be some kind of deal in place, because like you can go on the previews website and still look at all the solicitations and all that stuff. And that I thought, well, maybe they're just tracking the comics, but that doesn't make any sense. They wouldn't care about stuff that they're not carrying. So I don't know how that works either. So maybe there's some kind of deal, because shops would only deal with Diamond, that they worked some kind of arrangement out. I really don't know.
Comic Nation
said they're a reseller. Yeah.
Okay.
In that regard, I think, is there going to be delays? I think for those specific comic shops, like my comic shop, it goes through like Lunar, and I didn't have any of those delays when everyone was saying, "Oh, I didn't get my books. I didn't get my books." Nothing was affected for me. So I don't think from a bigger stance, we're gonna have that. But
certain shops,
I'm not
because
sure.
there have been delays.
Shops will.
I wonder if there's going to be continued delays. That's why I'm saying
for those shops, yes.
Delays, for those shops, if there's continued delays, do they make that switch now? You know,
I mean, if I was that shop, I would call Lunar right now and ping a random house, be like, "Can you put us on the list?" Because again, I think the reason why those shops, and again, I can only guess, is because they're probably doing it for a long time and they didn't want to change something they already knew. Like, why would you want to change your routine? And now it's like, well, now I'm forced to change my routine. So it's like, boomer parents are trying to learn the internet. It's that type of situation where it's like, well, I don't want to learn this thing. And now you kind of are forced to. So I think they're just gonna be forced to do those things. I'm trying to see if there's any other comments here. No, I don't see anything else that's questioned. I mean, I see
cool comment right here. Yeah. This one says, speaking of only about Diamond UK, they are the only supplier of comics in the country. They supply the books from all the comic companies.
That's crazy. But they did say that someone was buying that. So that maybe that's why they had someone in
if I can find it, I'll tell you who. I don't remember what the name of it was, but
But like things
I'll
like
look it up.
Forbidden Planet, let's say, that's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. That's crazy. Whew. I mean, but that's how it was here, though. You had Diamond for the entire United States,
Sure.
and that's why they probably felt like we're untouchable. And then
Well, they
you don't,
definitely
you
had
don't,
power trips. I feel like there's time, like I mean, people who are like, "Oh, I want to get my comic in Diamond. I want to get my Diamond," and they made like hoops to kind of. That was just like the smaller indie creators, and obviously after Marvel and DC left, they're like, "Oh, let's get anybody. But they
yeah,
definitely had like power trips when they were the monopoly, which didn't work out for them.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's Alliance Game Distributors, if you're familiar with them at all.
Okay, yeah.
They have the letter of intent to purchase Diamond UK.
Well, that's good at least, and that obviously that'll be a big move for them, I'm sure, to make some money. It's interesting stuff, but
Yeah.
I think we're gonna go into comics. Before we get into comic books, I do have a Kickstarter, so I'm gonna share that. If you want to find things outside your comic book store, here is Kickstarter. If you're looking for a slice of life book, this is about an anime character comes to life and falls in love with a high school cheerleader, has drama, comedy, everything you'd want. If you like books like Grommets, this is a good one because that's like kind of slice of life, dramatic flavor you get. So go check that one out. Also, I guess I'll say it here too. We have the Little Mermaid book coming out next Tuesday, and we have Terry Moore who's doing a cover. That's our cover. And what's cool about this one, it's in our mature universe, a mature fairy tale universe. But we're doing something crazy, and I would say maybe for the first time on Kickstarter, we also have a safe for work version. So if you don't want to read the mature version, it's the same book, but is a safe for work version. So it's like kind of the opposite of Red Band, where you want to get the grittier version. You're actually getting the less gritty version. So
releasing a green bag.
Yeah.
I should polybag and get a green bag. We didn't polybag it this time, but never say never on that. But yeah, go check it out. And what's really cool about this, we did the same thing for Witches of Oz, but Terry Moore is a wonderful person and has offered the original artwork. And last time we offered the original artwork, it literally took 5 minutes and sold out. So if you want the original artwork for Terry Moore, I very, 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 very much recommend following this page and getting it right away. We usually launch around like 10:30, 11 in the morning Eastern time. So go follow that page and be one of the first people. We also have limited edition Terry Moore stuff. So we're going to have like metal covers and black and whites variant covers that you can only get on this Kickstarter, and they're going to be limited. So go check all that out. And that's going to be a big campaign. We're almost at 1,000 followers, which is cool. So go check all that stuff out. And now I think we're moving on to... Oh, well, let's answer this question because we did talk about it. Did you guys see Sonic 3? We all did on the same week,
Yes.
and we all said it was fun. So.
Yeah, it was a good movie for sure.
It was a lot of fun.
All right, so we're going to talk about this week's comic books. So it wasn't a very big week, but there was some solid books out. So let's dive into Amazing Spider-Man issue 65. I personally
to it.
What's that?
I said we were alluding to it before because we were talking about.
I like this one better. I mean, it wasn't in my top 5, but I did like this one better because it got to the point where, and it's out of character for Peter, where he didn't care for human life anymore because he's just like, well, why should I save life if people are just going to die anyway and be forgotten, And I'm like, dang, Peter, I'm like, way to just quit on everybody, And even though, like, again, it's kind of out of character for Peter, it's just something different. And I did feel like for me that this book did have a little bit more emotion than what it's had because it hasn't had anything whatsoever for the longest time. So I do like that. And then in the future, there's obviously, it looks like in the next main issue, I don't know. I think he's getting back together with Felicia. So I don't know. We'll see.
I'd rather that than this girl. But
Yeah,
I think this issue, I agree, was better than last. But I also just feel like the emotions kind of get like it pops the balloon a little bit because there's no tension. Because if everyone dies, then there feels like there's nothing there. It's like, oh, well, this is how Mary Jane dies. This is how, his girlfriend dies. That I think Brant mentioned her name. It just kind of took everything away, where it's like, okay, if everything matters so much, nothing matters. It almost is what Peter says in the end, where it's like, I quit if nothing matters, which does feel very out of character for Spider-Man. So it's just like, they try to do something emotional, and I don't know if they really hit the nail on the head for me personally. But I also agree it was a little stronger than the last, but still for me, not
I thought it
enjoyable.
was a lot stronger in the last one. The last one didn't even accomplish anything for me. Like, he just fought the one's brother, the sister's brother, the twin, and it was like just nothing happened at all in that issue. At least this one, it was like it felt like some kind of emotional battle instead of a physical battle, you know?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but for me, because of the way it was structured, I think,
Mhm.
and just because it was like double page spread, and just we
Yeah.
pour all of these deaths in at
It's like
once.
3 panels. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of skimmed through that part real quick. That
Uh-huh.
it didn't give me that emotional punch that I think they were going for, and maybe you got it and I didn't, but I didn't feel it as much as I felt like I should have, I think,
Uh,
and so it kind of made it not as impactful for me. But
Listen, I wasn't streaming down tears. I wasn't like,
yeah, yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God, I was so full of
Right.
emotion. I
Yeah.
just got what they were going for.
Mhm.
So maybe it didn't like deliver, say as other comics that were going might be going for that, but
Yeah.
I got what they were going for.
Sure.
And it was just to see Peter suffer, really, and
I
to
just
get
thought
him
that
to
the
the point to quit.
execution was good, and that's the sad part, 'cause I agree, I see where they're going for, but I don't think it was well
Right.
written.
Yeah. No, I get it. I know. I totally understand. And now it's kind of like, hey, I quit, and now we get another issue tomorrow, which is a point issue because
I
it's
I
called
haven't seen
Uh,
that in a
65
long time.
65 point death, and then next week we get the one where he's with Black Cat.
yeah. I bringing back point issues. Come on. And it's like I think it's like a side story, right? Like it's I
The 65
remember
point
reading
death.
about it.
And
Yeah,
also
it's
Yeah.
not
those
even
point
written. It's not even
Very
written
sad.
by Joe Kelly.
Wow.
Yeah.
And also those point issues haven't been around for like 10 to 15 years. So if you haven't picked up comics as long as we have, you're gonna be like, what the hell is this? What is this? Because I
Yeah.
don't think they're gonna explain what a point death is. We only
No.
know because they explained it to us 15 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so let's talk about Brant. Let's talk about Transformers. Issue 16 at this point. Man, oh man, this book is just intense. There is just so much. There's a lot going on, but the stories, they all make sense and they're all very like impactful, So it's like you got Devastator doing battle against Bruticus, you got Starscream doing battle against Soundwave, you got Cliff and Jumper teaming up with Alita One that could help solve this whole conflict at the end of the day because he found those sparks. You wind up getting to see freaking Optimus Prime go through his episode again and causes the dam to explode. You get introduced to Trailblazer in this comic too. There was just a lot of stuff, but it was all very like intense and just in your face, and you're just like, oh my God, what's going on? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, this was definitely the most frenetic issue of the series so far, I think. Like you said, there was so much going on. And unlike previous versions of a Transformers comic, though, it wasn't like you couldn't follow it. You could still
No.
follow it well enough. I did think they probably stacked in a little bit too much for this issue. It was not as enjoyable as other issues for me, but I I like where it's going, especially with the ending and who pops up there. And obviously, these episodes are tied to him having that arm and all that stuff. So I think that's going to play out, very soon. And yeah, I like overall where it's headed. I don't know. There was something about this issue that wasn't quite as good for me as the rest of the run so far. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, very intense. I agree with that.
I totally understand that. I get it completely. Yeah, they did throw a lot at you. It's just
Yeah.
if you're a follower of this, you kind of
Yeah.
know everything that's going on,
Sure.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, this is not the point to jump on. That
Oh
point was
no.
like a little while ago. Like I
Yeah.
think the first break after like issue 7,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like
that was
issue
the time
7, I
of
think
them.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I told people that if you want to read this book, just go out, buy that first trade and buy a second trade, and you'll get caught up. But it's cool, man.
Yeah, to add a caveat on this, I read that and Absolute Batman like 10 minutes before we went live. So I kind of sped read both of
Oh,
those.
I
So
can see.
I,
Now I know why. Yeah, I can
yeah,
see it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I know, like I read this issue on its own, completely not saturated by other comics. So I was like, I was
Sure.
able to kind of enjoy it, so.
Yeah. It does take a little bit of away from it when I have to do that, but I tend to do that a lot.
All right. So, and then we're going to talk about a book that we all read, and that's Absolute Batman issue 4. This is a book that had much different artwork, but this had to deal with, Bruce's origin story here. And I totally forgot who the artist was on this. And then I found out that one of my commenters said that it was the artist that did the Phantom Road from Jeff Lemire's
Oh.
book. Yeah, you're on mute, Kat.
I was saying I saw that right away. That I was like, this looks familiar, and I was like,
I
oh,
just
this
knew
is
it looked
Phantom Road.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
was
was a
like,
lot different
I didn't
though.
like it.
Like for me, it was very. I, it wasn't like the artwork is bad. It's just it was
No.
just a little bit jarring compared to like what you're used to seeing in that comic, you
Right.
know. And so I get what they're kind of going for because again, it's an origin story. It's like flashbacks, so you're going for a different tone. But it did when he was like
Oh.
when you saw him as Absolute Batman, he looked completely different. I'm like, oh man, this is it's a little different for me, you know.
It totally threw me off for a minute, and I was like, "Am I reading the right book?" I was seriously like, "This is this the detective or something? I don't know what this is." But yeah, the art threw me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie there. But
The story was good. I mean, I felt like it was good to see Bruce interact with his dad, which was really nice, and kind of like the ins and outs of him, why he likes bats. He was like infatuated with them, and why he knows so much about them. And I thought that was really cool. So this book definitely did have like good elements to it. It's just the artwork was different. That's all.
I like the poeticness of it. I thought that was good. Um, but I also thought it was a little filler. Like I wanted a little bit more from the book. I
I
think the
think it
previous
was supposed to be that way. Yeah.
yeah, because obviously it's a filler artist too. I don't
Yeah.
know why they made it, like why they needed it, but yeah, it was middle of the road for a light week.
yeah,
Totally get it.
yeah,
I
definitely.
Go
I
ahead.
think I was just gonna say I think because our the hype was up so much for the
Sure.
previous issues of this series, it's like, man, this is taking a big step backwards. But at the same time, I also liked the content of it. I liked, his conversation with his dad and that kind of thing, and,
Yeah.
and him working out exactly what Batman was going to be and all of that. I thought that was interesting too.
Like a
If a
trial
little
and
cheesy
error.
with the fangs, but it was still interesting. Yeah, the trial and
Yeah.
error and stuff like that. But yeah, it just wasn't on par with what we had gotten previously. Is all.
I don't know if you guys, but Comic Toby says I've seen people play Marvel Rivals and I don't like the engine. I mean, some players don't have guns and others fly. It's not an even level playing field.
I haven't
So I
played
don't know,
it, but I've
Brand, have
heard
you played
people
Marvel
have talked
Rivals?
about it.
I played it once,
Okay.
because it was free to download, I think,
Yeah,
and
it's free.
yeah, when I first saw it, I thought it was like more like Fortnite gameplay, and then when I got into it, it wasn't. Then I was like, yeah, I don't. And it was
Won't
a
learn a
lot
new
of
thing.
yeah, it was a big learning curve because you had to unlock certain abilities, you had to train, you had to team up with this character to do that, and it
Mm.
was a lot more than I was willing to devote time to. So
My
But
son plays it. He actually
yeah,
really likes it, and
that's
he's
cool.
pretty good at it. And I would say that the big thing about this game is that there's different tiers of characters. There's like obviously
Yeah,
there's like tank character, there's a healer, there's all these different versions of characters, and you have to kind of get the right combination of characters to win your certain battles. So
yeah.
he
It's
plays with friends online. It's 6-on-6, and that's kind of how
yeah,
it goes. And a
it's
lot of
like a
people are enjoying it.
yeah, it's like a console version of a mobile game, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely that kind of vibe. Yeah.
absolutely. Let's see. We got Mutant Genius says, great show so far. I got to dip out though, work in the AM. Thanks. Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you'll catch the rest on the replay. So thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thanks.
watching. Did any of you read Lucky Devils?
We are
So that came out
gonna
last
talk about
week,
that.
right?
Oh, it came
So
out. Let me
yeah.
see. No, it came out. It came out this. It's on the list. We're gonna
It
talk
came out
about it.
this week. Yeah.
Oh, was it this week? Oh, it
Mhm.
was
Yep.
the number one. That's right. It wasn't in my top 5. That's right.
Yeah.
I was getting my weeks mixed up, man, because it's like I think I read it last week.
Last
Like,
week also had a
Okay.
lot more books. I will say that. This week
Yeah.
was a lighter week than last.
okay. All right. So we talked about those 3 books now. So let's go on to our number 5. So what is your number 5, Brant?
I'm trying to sort it out.
Cat, what's your number 5? We'll
Yeah.
get back to Brant
Give me
while he's
one
Uh,
working on
second.
it.
Yeah.
Mine is
Sorry, I'm rearranging.
Magic. I
That
thought it was
that
oh,
is
is
mine
your
too.
number 5 too?
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
was decent. I
That
thought for
might
the
be
first
mine. We'll
time
see.
they were explaining who Magic was. It's like, oh, cool. There's a reason why I could like her. I like that it wasn't as X-Men driven. I like that I'd do more about like the limbo aspect. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid way for an issue 1. I'm curious to see where issue 2 is going to go and where the rest of the series is going to go. I
Yeah.
don't know if it blew my mind, but I liked it.
I liked how it dove into the story like right away. It didn't mess around. It wasn't this hey, they tried messing around with having a happy birthday moment. She's like, I got work to do. And she got right into it. I like the vibe of the comic. I like how demons show up. I liked how it had this horror vibe into it as well. And I just liked I just like the overall story. I like the villain. I like the whole seals where you have to keep them sealed or this demon's going to come out, and just everything about it was great. And yeah, she was really good in it as well. It had good artwork. Overall, it was a fun read, and it surprised me. It did. I didn't think this solo book would be like, oh, this is a great book.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best book, but
But it was something
me
different.
yeah, for it to make a top 5, I think it says something.
Mhm.
All right, Brian, you got no choice now but to go.
Well, I'm just gonna go with Magic because it's between Magic and one other book. So, I'll disagree with both of you because it did really surprise me. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Um, I went in this with very little expectations because we get so many solo books from characters and Marvel and stuff, and half of them are decent, half of them are not great. So I didn't really know what to expect with this one, but I liked the direction of it. I liked the villain and the seals and her, kind of reluctantly teaming up with this kid that has inherited this, new purpose in life, and new responsibility and all that stuff. I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, I'm on board for this going forward.
Sweet. Very cool. I'm glad we all enjoyed the book. I was like, hopefully I'm not the only one that likes this book. I'm
No,
like,
it was decent.
it was nice to
Yeah.
see her in an adventure that I actually really enjoyed.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about Geiger, Brant, before all 3 of us talk about Aquaman. So this was a fast read, this particular
Yeah.
issue. But it was still good. And you wind up seeing Tyreek actually struggling with dealing with controlling his powers now, and it's tough. And I love Nate because he's just like, he's concerned for him, but he's like over caringly concerned and almost
Yeah.
sets like Geiger off, you know, which I thought was kind of funny. But they wound up coming across Junkyard Joe in this particular issue, and Tyreek has a heart attack, and then he saves him, and he's sick, and they got to go to another place, and they come across a new character, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit! I'm like, and it's a female character, and it kind of looks like him. Like she's got rods and everything in the back, and I'm like, is
Yeah.
this a female glowing person?
Yeah, and her name is Ash Arden, so it's like, because they said next issue Ash Arden, so that leads you to believe, you know, she's got some kind of abilities as well. That name is not a mistake. So yeah, it was a very interesting ending. And yeah, Nate was almost like a child, like a child trying to, like, you know, just doing too much and stuff. You know, you're like, that's enough. You know, just go away, sit down. You know, that's how he was treating Nate, and that's kind of what set him off. But and then you got the animal companions that are always fun, the zebra with the 3 eyes and all that stuff. So it's always a good read. But yeah, it was a quick read, and obviously it was a transitional issue to get them to this new place and meet this new character. So, but it was a necessary issue, and I like seeing Junkyard Joe, who I don't know what that little flashback of Redcoat was in there. You know, if that was
Yeah, I
Joe
was kind of
remembering,
lost
or
on that
yeah,
too, but I think Junkyard Joe, he probably knows who he is too, so
yeah,
I'm not sure, but it's all leading into something, obviously,
right,
you know.
yeah.
But you got that beautiful Gary Frank artwork. He's back on there on the book again, so
Yeah.
yeah, man, I am so pumped to see where this book is going to go in the future,
Yeah.
you know. So, okay, so let's talk about Aquaman issue 1. Aquaman hasn't had a title in years, and I don't like Aquaman. I had no expectations for Aquaman. The art looked good, and Jeremy Adams was writing it. So I'm sitting there going, okay, well, let's give this a try. And if Jeremy Adams can get me on an Aquaman book, then you know that the dude is truly a great writer. And after reading this first issue, I really enjoyed the book. I had a blast reading it, and just seeing him with Mira's powers and finding this orb and this orb leading to someplace else, just was all great, and it was very intriguing by the time I wound up getting to the end of it.
Yeah, I agree. I was pleasantly surprised. I also do not like Aquaman very much. But I think it did a good job at like showing that the mythology is going to be expanded a bit. We had the ending with like the dark side symbol. You had the family aspect, so you know there's gonna be a lot of character stuff. It's just what Jeremy Adams does best. The artwork was really solid. It made it very easy to say, okay, I'm gonna pick up issue 2.
Yeah. No, I don't really have anything different to say. I mean, it was just because he was writing it, I was excited about it, even though it is Aquaman. And a few weeks ago, we talked about the path being very similar to the path Jeff Johns took, and in a very similar way, it was like Aquaman. Everybody just, like, you know, trashed Aquaman all the time, and then Jeff Johns wrote it, and it was like, oh, Aquaman's
Oh,
cool.
it's good.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's kind of how I felt reading this too. It's like, okay, that's pretty cool. You know, he can be a really cool character if you write him well, and you know, handle a supporting cast well, and you give him a good story, and that's what we got here. So
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely taken the same path. I mean, he wrote Flash, he's writing Green Lantern, Aquaman. He's going to do a Green Lantern event. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it all
yeah,
follows the greater
very
scene.
similar
Now it's
path.
just a matter of like, does Jeremy Adams actually take it to the next step? Like, is he, and this was going to be a topic of ours,
Mhm.
does he actually become the next big DC writer? You know?
I think if he ends up writing a bigger title, because a Green Lantern obviously is a bigger title because of Jeff Johns, but he's still like kind of a
Sure.
B-lister when it comes to the DC
Yeah.
titles.
Mhm.
But if he takes over like Batman one day, or if he takes over Amazing Spider-Man, yeah, I think he would, especially if he writes at this level. I mean, that's the same thing with Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor took a long time to become the A-lister writer he is now. I'm trying to think of when that happened, honestly. because it wasn't the days of like Laura. He wrote Spider-Man, but it was the Friendly Neighborhood.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
friendly
maybe around that
neighborhood, man.
Iron Man, maybe. Hmm?
I don't know. I was thinking out loud.
I think what really put him on the map was the Injustice stuff.
Yeah, the Injustice.
Well, that was
stuff.
like how he originally
That's how he
went on the
came
map.
about.
Yeah.
But I think people he was discovered, and I just think title after title, I just think it just took a next step and the next step. So
yeah,
now he's obviously on
I don't know if there was.
Detective.
Yeah,
Nightwing,
I don't know if there
probably,
was
honestly.
one. Yeah, you're probably right. It probably was Nightwing. Other than that, yeah, and Dark Knights of Steel was around the same time too. So it was a lot of books, a lot of work that he put out there, and it was all solid. So
he had his own indie book for a while with Boom too. But yeah, no, I think of like either you take the path of Tom Taylor and you kind of, like you said, grow your library for a long time, or you take the Scott Snyder route and you just jump in and be the Batman writer. So I'm really curious to see what his next title will be, because I love him. I think he's great. I think he's a great writer. So yeah, I hope to see that in the next year or two, because I think we need more writing skills like Jeremy Adams for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So now with that, we're going to talk about our number 4. My number 4 was the book we just talked about, was Aquaman. So what was yours, Kat?
Absolute Batman. We already talked about it.
What about you, Brent?
I'll go with All New Venom. I don't know.
All New Venom.
Cool. So now we can talk about the teaser.
Now we can talk about All New Venom.
Yeah, now we can talk about the teaser.
Yeah,
no, it was a decent issue. Yeah,
it was decent, right? I mean, I liked it. My biggest thing is I love how Al Ewing realizes that everyone hates Paul, and so he's going to make.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite part of the issue. Yeah.
Oh, he disrespects him so bad. He's just like, whatever you say, Paul. You know, and it's just like. And then he tries to get him ice cream, and like he like totally like leaves and escapes out the window.
You didn't read this, right, Kat?
No, I didn't read.
Oh,
this.
My goodness! It was so good. He's talking about Dylan. Dylan is like just disrespecting Paul left and right, and Paul's being like this. I don't know. He's trying to be a father figure to Dylan, and Dylan's just not having it, and he's just like. Yeah, like Mike said, whatever you say, Paul. Yeah, Paul, you're really cool, Paul. You know, it's just all this kind of stuff, and he was echoing our thoughts through Dylan, and it was
that's
cool.
Brilliant.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Someone really needed to do it,
and he's determined to figure out who the new Venom is, and so he's kind of like the detective of everything. And what happens is you find out in this issue that it's not Luke Cage, because Venom gets a shot to the head and there's nobody there. There's nobody in the skull portion because Venom is so big. So it's not Luke Cage.
Is bulletproof. So it would have just bounced off of him.
Yeah, exactly. It went right through him.
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting there. And who was after Venom too? Who was it? It was like an AIM soldier, and then who was the villain next to him?
Oh, I can't remember now. That was one of the first books I read, and I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Forgot who it was.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I love how he hates him. Paul was made to be hated from the start. He didn't have to do much but exist and be with Mary Jane.
Yeah. Even Mary Jane was getting frustrated with him in this issue, though. She was just like, Paul, stop. It's like, he's a kid, dude. Just chill.
Yeah, it's funny, man. And like they draw him with like the crazy facial expressions. Like it's so funny. And so that was the best part. If it didn't do that, it probably would have been not very good. But being that now Dylan hates him, like I love that. So that's cool. All right. So okay. I did my 4. You did your 4, Kat, and then Brent
did. And he did his, So
were you going to talk about the teaser or no?
Oh, right. There. Let's show the teaser too. So thank you for reminding us. It's gonna be revealed to All New Venom's gonna be in issue 5. So you gotta wait a little longer, but it's the whole, Jane Foster of them all. You're waiting a bit. But this is the teaser. You could kind of see who it is in the middle. Like you see a little blurb that, like you said, Mike, earlier before we went on that
Yeah.
you could tell that
Look,
they're a skinny person.
yeah, you can tell, like, if you see him ripping off the gold part, you can see 2 little fists there,
Yeah.
and you get to see, like, the little head. So the character doesn't look very big. It looks like a more tiny character, a thin character. So if it's a thin character, if it is Rick Jones, maybe. I don't want it to be Rick Jones. I still want it to be Paul, and Paul's a thin character, so hopefully it is him, and Mary Jane hates him and shoots him, and like I said, it's done. He's all done, and Dylan just laughs in his face. Bye, Paul. That would be hilarious.
I do
Man.
think Rick Jones probably makes the most sense, but we will see. Paul's been, it sounds like he's been made fun of a lot in this issue.
Yeah. I still think maybe the 4 characters they gave us was all a red herring, and it is somebody like Paul or somebody else completely different. But we'll see. It's fun trying to figure it out, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right.
Okay, so let's go on to Batman and Robin on this one. So I stopped reading Batman and Robin, and then people are telling me it's good, that I should read it. So, and then I read this and I kind of felt a little bit lost. So I can't really give an accurate, I can't talk about it the way maybe it deserves.
And I dropped it too, because there was that whole run with Williamson who, I think at the end kind of faltered a little bit, even though I really liked his Robin run. And then after that, I read that first issue. Like, I think I've had enough Batman and Robin for a little while.
So I did read this, and so this arc has this thing from Bruce's past, this villain from Bruce's past when he was in the UK learning. He was obviously using the pseudonym. He was learning under a detective. I don't remember exactly which agency or whatever, but they came in contact with this villain that supposedly died or was incarcerated or whatever, and now in present day Gotham, it's cropped back up, and now this friend that he had back then is now in Gotham tracking this person down, but he knows it can't be this person, and now all this crazy version of the fear toxin is there and stuff. And now Damian, and the best part about this issue in particular, though, was there's this tension between Damian and Bruce now, because Damian he feels responsible for this girl that got hurt a couple of issues ago. So
that was the one at the dinner, right?
Yeah, so he's feeling all these emotions, and he doesn't know what his place is anymore, and he might want to go a different path than Batman, and he's having this crisis of conscience and all this stuff, and Batman's not really understanding it or being, so there's like this tension between them, and it's a really good father-son moments in this issue between them. So that's the good part of this arc.
Gotcha.
Right? But it is, because they do a lot of flashbacks in this arc, though, it's, I don't know, there are some slower
hard to follow.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Let's move on to a book that we all talked about. It's New Champions issue 1. So
I almost didn't get this, but I had no books, so I was like, I guess I'll get it.
I liked it.
I did too.
I feel like this is kind of like Marvel's trying to answer to DC's new to Titans.
Yeah.
And
sure.
My only issue with it is there's like too many characters. Like, you got introduced to 4 characters in the beginning, which is fine. And then all of a sudden we throw in Hulkling, or not Hulkling, the Hulkette, the Spider-Boy. There's another character at the end. And they're like, who will be in the New Champions? And you're kind of like, hopefully none of them, because I don't want everybody to fight for panel time and not find your favorite character. All of them. What's that?
Yeah, it's probably just going to be Spider-Boy.
I don't even know if it's going to be Spider-Boy. I think it's going to be the ones that were on the cover. There were a couple of other characters that weren't featured in the issue, I think. So, I mean, obviously, I read the Spider-Woman comic, so I knew who these characters were.
Right.
But sure. I still think they did a decent job at reintroducing them. And what I did like about it was that each of them had their own stories. And we got a little glimpse into each of their personal lives, which I liked, because that was a lot more than that Spider-Woman arc did. They were just kind of, throwing in characters in that story, and here we fleshed them out a bit, and I
Mhm,
like that, and I liked,
mhm.
some of them were dealing with, traumatic situations or bad home lives and that kind of stuff, so that made it more interesting to me. Obviously, at the end, when you throw in all those characters because of this spell or whatever to bring or whatever, I don't remember what it was, but bring all the new champions or whatever, and it kind of misread it as let's bring in every
Hero.
superhero under the
Yeah.
age of 15 or whatever. uh, but yeah, I still think that's fun though, but I think it's just going to be like a cast of like 6 or something.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think I liked this issue because like you said, they did show glimpses of their personal lives. I stopped right when this arc started with Spider-Woman, so I didn't
Mhm.
read that section, but they did a good job with that. I think my only gripe, and this is like a Marvel gripe in general, it feels very similar to anything else we've seen before. Like every issue
Mhm.
one's almost the same. Big action piece, slow it down, big action piece again. And I'm like, oh man,
Sure.
I've read this a billion times already. Like we read so many comics. Like, what's gonna make this stay on my pull list? Will I read issue 2? Yeah, probably. I saw just now on this list, it's issue 3 is the champions versus the champions, like Miss Marvel and Viv Vision versus them. I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. But at past issue 3, I don't know unless something really piques
Yeah.
my interest. I
Right.
don't know if this is gonna stay on my pull list.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I think
No,
they
I get
did a
that.
great job. If you didn't read the Spider-Woman series at the end, they kind of recapped everything that went on, who the characters were and stuff like that.
Right.
And I do like how they have their own family or foster home, which is kind of cool too. So it has potential. Will it be better than the original Champions comic that came out? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
The writer here has got to make you want to like these characters or continue to,
Right.
want you to read about these characters. And that's always the struggle with, newer characters. So we'll see
Well,
what
and
happens.
also that other Champions book had characters that were introduced in so many different titles that like built it
Mhm.
up. You had Vision from the Vision book that a lot of people like. You had Miss Marvel. You had Scott. Like that, the team made more sense. It's just like here's all these new characters, deal with it. That's why it kind of feels more like what Marvel's been doing more now than anything else. But we'll see. I want to also be positive about it too. So
Yeah.
that's why my issue 2 might be like, wow, this actually really changed my mind.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. So we got that knocked out. So let's dive into our number threes. And I'll talk about mine first because I don't know. Brent, you don't read Nemesis, do you?
No, I do.
Oh, you do? I didn't remember if you did or not.
Yeah.
It was the conclusion to Nemesis. That was my number three.
Okay.
So I like the conclusion. I thought it was kind of cool. They're on this island. They're trying to steal this money from all these rich guys and, kind of bribing them with these videos and stuff like that. And you got Nemesis like um sidekick is there. And then at the end of the issue, the poor kid gets it,
You knew it was coming though.
You knew it, but I didn't realize that he had to pay the people's back with like organs, and it was the kid.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. Yeah.
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 So that was kind of dark, and you felt kind of bad for him because Nemesis actually really liked him, and it was
Yeah.
like, and he's just like, I got to do what I got to do, and he's like, don't cry. He's like, because I'm not friends with what. So I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of, it was a cool line at the end. So, and now he wants to take over the world. So there's going to be another series.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I forget what it was called, Forever or something like that.
Yeah, Nemesis
Um,
Forever.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was it was definitely a definitive ending. I mean, we he cleared the board of pretty much everybody. But yeah, you knew that was coming since they introduced the first rookie or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
so I was like, well, this guy's on borrowed time, but I didn't know how dark it was going to get by the end of that. Yeah, for sure. But it's interesting that Nemesis, even when it looked like he was beat, was like 5 steps ahead of
Oh
everyone.
my God. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
such a cool villain.
Yeah. He really is,
Yeah.
an evil Batman.
Yeah. That's exactly what he is. Okay. So, Kat, what's your number three?
Mine is Uncanny X-Men issue 8. I really like the build up to this Professor Xavier story that's going to be coming up. I think I miss comics that kind of use building blocks to get to big moments instead of like, here's this big moment, deal with it. And I feel like this book does a good job at that. So I like this like mini crossover and how the both different X-Men teams are on different sides, and some things they're on the same side for, something they're not. And yeah, I liked it. That was solid.
I like the revelation about Professor X in this too, and that there were other like super telepaths, not just the two that we've seen, but there was like 5 of them in total.
There's 5 of them, yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. And the origin of scurvy, how he was this, guy that was on a podcast and turned into the super mutant and all this stuff. I thought all that stuff was really interesting. The conflict between Cyclops and Rogue that just would ebb and flow throughout the issue. It was just really well paced. And I like this little crossover too. And I'm excited, for what comes next with Professor X too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I was tired of the Rogue and Cyclops
argument
back and forth. It's like, okay, how many times are we going to do this? Like, it even did it at the end where she like slapped them in the face, and I'm just like, okay, like I get it, right? But how many times are we going to see that? That was the one thing that really bugged me. That was it, But I am curious to see what's going to happen with Professor Xavier. And like Kat, you said, to lead him into this like event that's coming up with all the books. So interesting. And we did get a different artist that time around in this issue. So okay. Everyone went then, right?
Think so.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't go,
okay.
Yeah,
that's right. We were talking.
Yeah, we were talking about Nemesis, but mine's Champion, so we already talked about it.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. That's cool. All right, so we talked about Uncanny X-Men. Oh, okay, so now we're at Lucky Devils. So, Lucky Devils was a decent book for me, but man, there was a lot to grasp going on, like with all this lore and everything. So I'm gonna continue it because I want to see like direction that it like kind of like where it goes, but just the whole thing of them wanting to take over hell and trying to assign a devil to 1 every 100 and 1 every 400 and then 1 every 1 every 10. Like I was just like, okay. And then it's like, we want to take over these people because we want them to be, power hungry or whatever. We want to make them evil, like, or do bad things. And we kind of can't because they're such good souls. It was an interesting concept. I just felt like it was like a lot going on.
Yeah, unlike 8 Billion Genies, where it was a pretty easy concept to follow. Everybody has a genie. You have one wish. Do what you will. This was like, it was a lot more convoluted than that, but very similar in concept in that way.
Yes,
and I did think it was interesting that we learned towards the end, and this is a minor spoiler, but that these devils somehow got halos or something that resembles a halo or something like that. And so it's like, okay, are these actually good? What is going on here? I don't know what this means. But now they're just going to capitalize on these people being good. And is that going to in turn make them good, or is it going to make them more? I don't know what exactly this is going for yet. So.
And I think we just need more story. And I just want to see them attached to these humans just to see how the human story develops. Like, I liked how they introduced the humans and kind of like how their lives are. Like, I love that concept of it. And then once the devils showed up, I was like, okay. I'm like, all right.
It is interesting because they actually call themselves like the devil on your shoulder and said, we've been around you since you were born. And, anytime you're like angry, that's me whispering in your ear. It was like that, taking that concept that, has been around forever and like visualizing it, So I thought that was interesting to do that with the concept at the very least. But I don't know if I like this as much as Genies. So I'll read the next issue. But I'm not quite sold on this one yet. So.
Yeah, me too. I right away, Genies. When I read that book, I was hooked at that last page. I was like, oh man, I got this is the next best comic book I've ever read, And this one, I kind of was like, I don't know. Is it going to be too much for me? Am I not going to get it? Like, am I not going to like it? So, you know, I did think it was good. I do think it was a decent concept. I did like it, but it's just, I'm not 100% sold yet.
Right.
So. All right. So let's move on to number 2. Kat, what's your number 2?
Mine's Aquaman. We already talked about it.
Nice. What about you, Brent?
Mine is Uncanny X-Men.
Cool. Mine is Geiger. So that's mine. And then we'll just jump right in to the number 1.
I don't think we talked about Daredevil yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know it's a big one. No,
I read it.
It's, you know, what the previous series was, except they're like, let's add blood, but don't let anyone curse. Even though they are cursing in this book, we can't have them curse. That was fun, but again, it was just fine. Will I pick up the next issue? Yeah, if it's a light week, I'll probably pick up the next one, but it also felt forgettable in my brain.
I'm right there with you. I'm not really familiar with, and I know this character is pretty popular, like the Muse character, but I don't know like really the power set, and I didn't think that she did a great job at introducing like or making you understand who this character actually is. And was I the only one thinking that? Like,
no, I felt the same way. I wanted a little bit more information to get excited for that character.
Right. I like the beginning of the book where she's in Hell's Kitchen and she's doing a drug bust.
I actually really liked the like the narration for that. It hooked me, and then it just like as it went on, I was like, oh, that wasn't as interesting as the beginning.
And you just got this. You got the Muse character possessing this random girl, this artist, and it's like okay, and we're gonna show her stab the dude a bunch of times, and that was kind of it for me. Like I don't know, but I might try issue 2 just to see how the story develops and what kind of week it is at the same time.
Yeah, we'll see.
So Brant passed on this. He had no intention on reading.
I feel like you tried to lecture a lot, right? Yeah. Oh, you were just like, I'm done.
I just forgot about it, honestly.
It was a forgettable issue, so it's okay if you forgot. I don't think you missed much.
Yeah, it's nothing that like really, stands out all that much. All right, so now we'll go on to the number 1 comic. So Brant, what's yours?
Mine was Aquaman. So
okay. Mine was Transformers, like usual.
Mine was Snot Girl, like usual. So Snot Girl came out this week. So this was interesting because we got a little bit of Caroline's past, the girlfriend. So you thought it'd probably be an issue about the mom and their whole like coming out thing, but it was really like, oh, this is actually like what Caroline's all about, and the whole book again is about being an unreliable narrator. So my guess is that all that's just kind of fake. But no, it was fun. I like seeing the chess pieces being played, and it's a great book, and I had a good time with it.
Very cool. Awesome. All right. So now we're going to go into, I'll hand it over to Brant real quick, and we'll knock out these most anticipated books for next week that we're looking forward to.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to answer Lisa real quick. All right, let's get over there to the most anticipated. So our list, well, my list is very similar to both of yours. I'll put it like that. So.
And mine and Mike's list is, I think, completely different. So that's fun.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah. I think there's only one book that's on all of ours. So we'll save that one. So Mike and I both have G.I. Joe number 3. Obvious reasons, longtime G.I. Joe fans. Nothing that's blowing me away yet, but I just like the book, and I love G.I. Joe. So
I just like seeing the interactions between the characters and how they're written and how they might differ from the cartoon. Like Baroness. We talked about that a couple weeks ago or last show, where it was like, oh, will the Baroness actually become evil, or will she stay a Joe? Them, finding the Cybertron technology. Yeah, great stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tevia says not a lot's coming out. I feel like I'm getting a lot more this week than last week. So I feel like
I agree. There's more this week than last week. I think you get a lot more stronger books and a few more of them. Yep.
Sure. I agree. And you have some bigger books like Ultimate Wolverine, which we'll talk
Right.
about, but there's
Yeah,
like
Ultimate
bigger books coming
Wolverine,
out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we'll stay with you, Mike, and go Feral, which is a book we all read,
Yeah.
and always looking forward to that one as well.
This is the continuation of the crazy cat lady hoarder, and it's just like getting to see that type of story, like Elsie the cat, like how does she survive? And she opens that door, and all inside that room is all those cats with like rabies, So I think it's going to be like, how you had the herd of zombies in like The Walking Dead, well, you're going to get the herd of cats, and they're probably going to have to try to escape this place. So,
Oh yeah, no doubt. It's like the barn in Walking Dead.
yes,
That's the vibe it gave me.
exactly.
Yeah. So, all right, and let's see. We'll go to your number one, Cat. Exceptional X-Men. You and I like this book better than Mike, I think, but this is really your book for sure.
It's my book.
Your
I
kitty
love
book.
it. Is the kitty book I've always wanted. And this issue in particular is going to deal with the aftermath of the kids finding out that Kitty killed people and, dealing with that emotional aftermath. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be my number one pick. I'm pretty sure of it. We'll
Like it's already there.
We'll see if something knocks it out.
Kitty Pryde won't even be in the issue. It's number one.
I'll say if Kitty's not in the issue, that might be the only thing that might bring it down.
Given the way it ended last issue, I bet she will be though. So.
Oh yeah, no, I think so too.
Yeah. All right, and then Kat and I both have Green Lantern Fractured Spectrum, which I know Mike's reading as well.
We're finally getting the continuation of that story because we've had that the whole last arc that kind of deviated us. We had all of Absolute Powers. This is, I think, finally we're getting back to what we were months ago, which I'm excited.
So this is definitely coming out. Like I didn't put it down because like it's been delayed a couple of weeks.
I think it's definitely coming out. I'm pretty sure.
So.
God, because it's always said on League of Comic Geeks, but then they kept pushing it back a week, pushing it back.
Right.
So I was like, is it finally coming out or not? And this is like, honestly, it really is one of my top books that I'm looking forward to.
No, I'm surprised it wasn't on your list. So now we know.
Yeah, just because I wasn't sure. Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's my number one. So, and then Ultimate Wolverine is the book that's on all of ours at different places. We've got it in 3, 2, and 1. So that's interesting. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that reveal and how that character is connected to the Rasputins and what they do with it. Yeah,
and I want as good as Spider-Man. I know you guys like Ultimates a lot, but like for me, I'm only really enjoying Spider-Man. So I'm like, oh, I want another Ultimate book.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing maybe like how brutal this book might be. Like, how far do we push the envelope on this book? Because Wolverine's already a violent character, right? So when you get a Wolverine mixed with a Winter Soldier, like, man, this thing can be punishing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah. Hopefully it lives up to those expectations. So we'll just have to see.
Absolutely.
But that's it. That's our most anticipated.
And that's it. Bye, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So tonight was a great show. Luckily, this news dropped today that was fresh news, and we got to discuss it with not only us here on the panel, but with all of you guys as well. So thank you for watching and tuning in, and hopefully you enjoyed the show. And don't make this the only show that you watched if this is the first time you've tuned into us. We've been doing this show a very long time, and and it's great to get a new audience or new people on here, and this is kind of what we do every week. So much appreciated if you stuck with us through years and years and years, or if you're brand new just watching this entire show. We just love doing it when we get a chance to do it. That's really the biggest thing. Whether we're tired, sick, or got events going on, when we can do it, we definitely try to do it. And we're definitely going to go for next week, making sure that we're all healthy and ready to go. And I'm excited to talk about more comics next week. So as always, guys, thank you so much. Have a happy new comic book day. Hopefully you find everything that you're looking for. And remember, subscribe to Comic Book Corner 2.0, Comic Uno, Only Good Comics, and also Comic Book Weekly if you want to see every episode on there, back to back to back. And hit the notification bell, hit that thumbs up. And guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Have a good night, everybody.